Hello everybody and welcome back to Marvel Rivals. In this one we're going to be going over the Human Torch, aka Johnny Storm. There's not a whole lot to say about him, so let's just get right into it. Before we get into any of the abilities, I want to go over how he moves, just in case anyone here isn't familiar how flying characters move. You have free movement where you can basically move any direction. Holding the jump button actually moves you up, and holding the descent button moves you down. On keyboard and mouse, that is spacebar and control. The Human Torch's main attack is called Fire Cluster. Launch forward a cluster of splitting fireballs. This attack is pretty self-explanatory, but it has a few small details that you might want to know about. Pressing the button, he shoots a fireball that splits up towards the mid to late sections of its path. That's right, this fireball is actually more of a shotgun, so you have to play it at kind of close to mid-range if you want to do maximum damage. As you can see, the farther it gets, the more spread it is, so if you play closer up, you have the potential to do a decent amount of damage. This attack has 6 bullets and needs to recharge. You can see how many bullets you have as little flame symbols underneath his crosshair. These flames actually recharge really fast, so you don't really have to worry that much about spamming it. If you do end up spamming it, his rate of fire does slow down a little bit, but it's not that much. However, we'll get into it a little bit later, but if you channel an ability or two in between all of his basic attacks, you should have no problem having constant bullets in the chamber. His next ability, or alternate fire, is called Blazing Blast. Launch a fireball that deals damage and creates a flame field at the targeted area, dealing damage to enemies within. Now this attack is actually one of his main attacks, as a lot of his other abilities tie into this one. We'll get into what it all can do later, but for now all you need to know is that when you press the button, he shoots a little fireball and it hits the ground. Sticking to it, it stays there for a little bit and deals damage to anyone standing inside of it. You can have up to 5 of these on the field if you're pretty quick with it, as the recharge rate is pretty quick and you have 3 charges of it. As I was saying a little bit with his primary attack, if you weave these in like every 1 or 2 primary attacks, you should have no problem with constantly being above 3 ammo. Again, this ability is very important for all of his other abilities, so make sure you're using these wisely, and we'll get into how you can use them a little bit later. The Human Torch's next ability is called Flaming Meteor. Dive towards the ground, dealing damage to enemies and destroying any flame fields hit. So this ability is also pretty self-explanatory, but with a few little things that you can do extra. Pressing the button, he will just dive down exactly where you're looking, dealing damage and knocking back any enemies hit by it. On its own, this isn't that great of an ability, I'm going to be honest. But it gets better the second you integrate his alternate fire into it. If you have these flame fields on the ground and then use this dive ability, anything hit by this dive ability will explode, dealing a decent amount of damage to everyone in the area. This has the potential to cause a giant explosion in a small area, dealing a decent amount of damage to everyone in it. Keep in mind, however, that if you're diving down and you don't get a kill, he's not the fastest flyer in the world, so it may be pretty difficult to get back out. So be careful how you use this. Don't just dive into an enemy team and I hope to God you kill them all. Maybe use it to get a pick that you can guaranteed get and then get out. Speaking of getting out of things a little bit faster, that's where his next ability, Plasma Body, comes in. Hold the button to enter a state of accelerated ascent. Now this is pretty self-explanatory. You hold the button and he has this meter that appears on the side of the screen. While you're moving, it will slowly deplete. This allows you to move considerably faster. There is no cooldown attached to it. The cooldown is if the meter is empty, you might just kind of spurt forward a little bit and then it will stop again. Now I have this little race I set up just to show it is a lot faster. As you can see, it is considerably faster. So if you do end up being in a sticky situation, use this ability to get out if you can. The Human Torch's next ability is called Pyro Prison. When 2 or more of his flame fields exist, connect them to form a firewall that deals one-off high damage to enemies that pass through the wall, or continuous burning damage if the wall exists in an enclosed area. This ability is probably one of his coolest abilities that he's got. So as we talked about earlier, his alternate fire kind of puts down these little fireballs. If you press the button when 2 or more is down, they will connect and create a wall of fire. If any enemies pass through it, it deals a decent amount of damage. That's cool and all, but what gets even cooler is if you make a big square, triangle, any shapes you can get with 3 to 5 of these things on the ground, it will create an area, damaging anyone in the area constantly. As you could probably tell, you can make some really wacky shapes with this and probably take over entire points, making capture the point sections probably a no-touch zone for some people. Do note that if you put it down and there's a wall in the way, they will look like they connect, but it's not an enclosed area, so it won't do damage if they're in it, only if they pass through one of the walls that are connecting. As I was kind of saying earlier, it's pretty good if you can get 4 out and then use this ability. You can have 5 if you're quick with it. If you really want, you can make some funky shapes. The Human Torch's ultimate ability is called Supernova. Explode with cosmic fire to deal damage to enemies within the range, and enter Supernova state. Well, in Supernova state, Blazing Blast will transform into Flame Tornado, and Plasma Body can be activated without any cost. So, when you push the button, if any enemies are nearby, they will take a quick burst of fire damage. After that, you kind of just play him like you've normally been playing him. Plasma Body, or his movement speed ability, can be used with no cost, so you can use it forever. And his alternate fire gets turned into a flaming tornado, dealing a lot more damage and a lot bigger of an area. Overall, this ultimate isn't crazy. I mean, these tick damage that these tornadoes do is pretty crazy, but we'll get into some extra things you can do with his ultimate a little bit later in the video. Do note that you can't connect these flame tornadoes together. Also note that the flame tornadoes last even after your ultimate ends. The Human Torch has 2 team-up abilities. The first one we're going to be going over is with Invisible Woman, called Fantastic Four. The Invisible Woman taps into her powers, channeling psionic might to fortify the entire Fantastic Four team. This force bolsters the Human Torch, granting damage resistance. Once activated, he can continuously generate bonus health, making up for lost health with each passing moment. If you've been playing the season before he came out, it is exactly the same as The Thing and Mr. Fantastic's ability. Once you have Invisible Woman on the team with you, you get a new ability. Invisible Woman doesn't have to do anything but exist on the team for this ability to work. Pushing the button, you'll gain a shield depending on how much health you're missing. The maximum you can get is 100 health. This shield generates pretty quickly and helps you take a little bit more damage. Overall, this ability isn't the greatest, but it's there to help you with survivability. So if you have it and you're using it, you can survive a little bit longer than normal. The Human Torch's other team-up ability is with Storm, called Storming Ignition. When the Human Torch activates Supernova, Storm can summon an Omega Fire by selecting the Flame Tornado with Omega Hurricane. Likewise, when Storm unleashes Omega Hurricane, the Human Torch can transform it into a Burning Hurricane with Supernova. Any Flame Tornado caught in the Burning Hurricane will grow in size and damage. There's a few ways this can be activated. The Human Torch can ultimate first, throw a tornado down, and Storm can fly into the tornado with her tornado, causing it to get bigger and turn into a fire tornado. Another way you can do it is you can wait for the Storm to ult, and then you can press your new ability button that you got that will auto-cast your ultimate ability and auto-turn Storm's ultimate ability into a fire tornado. Now, the thing that gets crazy with it is, every time Storm picks up one of your fire tornadoes, it extends the time and damage that the tornado does. Meaning you can extend Storm's ultimate by up to 5 seconds. That also increases the damage, meaning she can actually out-damage a lot of support ults now. This ultimate is crazy. It does cost 2 ultimates to keep it somewhat balanced, but it's also so long and so overkill, it's not fun to play against. I don't think Storm is making it out of any ban phase as long as this ability is around. And that is everything you need to know about the Human Torch. What do you guys think of him? What do you think of that team-up ability? Let me know down in the comments below. I also got a bunch of other Marvel Rivals content on the channel, so if you want to check that out, feel free to do so and hit that like and subscribe button while you're at it. If not, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.